Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this week's episode of the Small Business Surgeon Podcast. My name is Sam. I am your host, and today I am joined by none other than oh bollocks, you made me mess this up. God damn it.
Jerry Gerken.
Yeah, I just went straight to the guy from Frosties. I went to Tony the Tiger. I'm like, he's got nothing to do with Frosties, man. Fuck. I was like, Gert, because I wrote down Grrr in my notes.
Yeah. That's what I tried to tell you. Don't do that
Motherfucker.
Jerry Gerken thing.
Oh, man.
Jerry Gerken.
Jerry
Yeah.
Gerken. All right, well, you know what? Welcome to the show. Jerry Gerken, the author of Six Figure Salesperson. He is a member of Apex. And, around here, we don't use the edit button. We don't do do-overs, so I'm just going to leave that phenomenal introduction, best one ever, in there. Jerry, welcome to the show, brother.
That's all good, man. I mean, it's really cool, though, in a weird kind of way, because when I get these phone calls from telemarketers, they're like, is Mr. Jerken there? And I'm like, no, he's not. So I'm used to it, brother. It's no big deal, really. Well, truly, I've lived the life.
Dude, we got you started out, man, and I know we've been back and forth. I've been knowing you close to a year now, and we just haven't made it on your show. You are the author of the Six Figure Salesperson, and you're making quite an impression in the Apex group. So let's just jump right in, man. Who is Jerry Gerken?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm from humble beginnings, and I think that a lot of people in the Apex community, and I don't know where your listeners are from, but a lot of the people in the Apex community are from humble beginnings. And when you talk about humble beginnings, it's like my mom stayed at home, my dad had a modest job, and our community was about pride. Pride. That's what we did. You know, it was all about pride.
Did you grow up in a small community or in a big one?
Yeah, it was like 3,000 people.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I was adopted. I found out later, in when I had some recollection. I was adopted when I was 18 months old. I met my biological mother when I was 19, but met my biological father when I was 26. Biological father never knew I existed. That's a story for another time. But my mom that raised me, and I consider her my mom, you know, it's my mother that birthed me. I don't, I met her when I was 19, and I met my half sisters, and but my mom that raised me I always knew that I was adopted, and it was no big deal. It really wasn't. It was just like, okay, that happened, but I have a great life. I'm like, here I am. I'm in a small farming community in Northwest Ohio. It's all good. But then as I got older, my mom was like, you want to meet your biological mother? And I'm like, I guess. I don't know. I was 17, 18 years old. I didn't really care. It didn't really make a difference in my life. It wasn't like life changing for me to meet my biological mother. Well, I did. And I was going in the Marine Corps. I was getting ready to go in the Marine Corps. And she was like, hey, I love you. And I'm like, you love me? I just met you. I couldn't reciprocate, it was kind of weird. But she knew me from birth to 19 years. So as I got older and I understood, but initially I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'll see you later. I'm going in the Marine Corps. But then as I got older and I had my own kids, I was like, I really understood what she was saying, that she has loved me for all these years. But anyway, went in the Marine Corps, got out of the Marine Corps, did some time and some war shit, but we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, no
problem. Saw my share of whatever. And then I was a wrestler. Very, very good wrestler, was an all-American wrestler, wrestled in the Marine Corps, and I ended up wrestling at college. And 2 weeks after I got out of the Marine Corps and went to Findlay College in Ohio, and I met my wife, and we've been married for 30 years, and I have a couple kids, and that's pretty much the very, very, very abbreviated version.
You must have been really, really good at wrestling because your ears aren't messed up. You've got lovely ears.
I don't know. They're pretty hard. They're just not like sprinkled, you know. Like I have a buddy who was a Russian wrestler that I met in the early '90s that he defected from Russia,
Mm-hmm.
and his ears are like trophies. That's what they said. He said if you have broken ears, then they're like a trophy.
Yeah, yeah.
And my ears didn't get broken, although this one on my right side is pretty broken, but it's just not malformed like his was, where you couldn't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, I was pretty good. It's interesting though, because I was on a podcast. I actually Chris Whitehead was on my podcast this morning, the Jerry Gerken show, and we were talking about life and evolution and how things happen. And it was, I can't remember what I was going to say. I just lost it. Oh well.
Well, Chris's name, I interviewed Chris a few weeks ago, and his name was a lot easier to pronounce than yours.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'll give him that. So you evolved into a author and a public speaker and the guy that put together the six-figure salesperson course. So that tells me in your life you must have had a trajectory that took you through sales. You got into the automotive industry, didn't you?
Yeah. So when I was, I think it was like early 20s, after I graduated college, I got a sports medicine degree and I got an education degree, and I couldn't find a full-time teaching job. So I married, baby, mortgage, car payments, the whole nine. And then I'm sitting there like, okay, somebody's going to pick me up, right? I'm a All-American wrestler. I'm a Marine. I've got all these different, you can check all these boxes. And then it just wasn't, I wasn't getting hired. So I had 7 interviews, man. And it was so frustrating because I was going through all these interviews and it was the same thing every time. It was like, yeah, you've got all these hats you can wear in our school system. We'll be in touch with you in a few days. And then I would get a rejection letter. I was just like head scratcher. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? So the last interview I had was like in August of whatever year that was. And 2 weeks before the school was supposed to start.
Right.
And I just point blank the administration. I was like, hey, you know what? You just told me that I can wear all these hats and I can do what you want. And yet you still have to interview a couple people. And I just said, I don't even know what the salary is. You guys haven't even told me what the salary is. I'll take the job. And they all looked at each other dumbfounded. They didn't know what to say. And basically, it was like finally the superintendent spoke up and says, we'll be in touch with you in a few weeks, Mr. Gerken. And I got a rejection letter. So what that told me was they already had formulated their decision, but they were checking all the boxes that they needed to check based on the school board. You know, so I was out there, I was selling suits at JCPenney's, I was substitute teaching, and I was volunteer coaching wrestling at a local high school. And I needed a job. I needed to make money. I had a baby, I had a wife, I had a mortgage. You know, I had all these other things I needed to take care of. And my a couple of my boys that I was coaching at the local high school's dad was a general manager of a car dealership. And I would go in there and I would sit around and just bullshit with them. And I was like watching these salespeople coming in and out. And I'm like, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, man. This is easy. I mean, I can do this thing.
That's how they get you, man. Just hanging out of the car dealership, hanging out.
Right. That was something that was in the, you know, I envisioned that when I was in the kindergarten that I was going to be a car salesman. So I told Jan, his name's Jan Shadle. I said, Jan, I need to make money. I got a family. I got stuff to take care of. And he's like, well, you can sell cars, but you got to promise me one thing. And I said, what's that? And he's like, you need to be a teacher because that's what you're designed to do. That's what your calling is to be a teacher.
Yes, sir.
And so I crossed my fingers behind my back And I said, okay, I'll be a teacher. So he gave me a job, and Sam, it was crazy. The first 8 days I was in the car business, I didn't sell a car.
Uh-oh.
I was like, this isn't as easy as I
It
thought
is.
it
It's
was.
like shooting fish in a bucket, man. What the hell?
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's easy as selling cars.
But here's the crazy thing too. I remember vividly the first car I ever sold. And I was standing out on the point, as they call it in the car business. And I was standing there and I was like waiting on the next customer, oh, I'm the vulture, right? I'm going to come out and jump on you and sell you a car. And I'm standing out there, and there's an honor among thieves in the car business where you have position. So this other guy was standing in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And
now,
this car,
for those that don't know, that generally old school car lots, like you would stand outside and hang around, and one guy would take front position, and that would mean the next car that came on the lot was his. And the honor amongst thieves was you didn't fight the guy for it. You moved into up position next, right?
correct.
Yeah.
100%. Thanks for that clarification.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, yeah. So I'm standing there, and this guy, and I still remember his name. His name's Dan Sheridan, and I doubt if he's listening, but that his name's Dan Sheridan. So now I'm giving you some props, Dan. But he was standing there, and he looked at me, and I'm like, Mother Fletcher, he's got me. And I was just fighting to sell a car because I needed to succeed. I mean, I was an All-American, I knew I was a winner. I knew that I could win in this thing, and I wanted it, but I was so frustrated because I went 8 days without winning.
Mm-hmm.
It was so frustrating. And so he's like, he looked at me and he goes, you haven't sold a car yet, have you? And I'm like, no. He's like, go ahead. So I go out there and I meet this mother and son, and they're looking for a car for him. And long story short, we take him on a test drive, come back, we go to the desk, and they give me the numbers. And I walk into the office and I sit down. I'm like, okay, here's the numbers. And I present the numbers, and they're like, okay, we'll take it. Sam, I didn't know what the fuck to do.
Because you're ready for a fight.
I was waiting.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the objection. I was like, where's the objection at? And I'm like, I'll be right back. So I jumped up, grabbed my paper, walked back into the office to the used car manager. And I'm like, they said they take the car. He's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Go, and so that was my first experience.
Go get it.
On your car. So then, so after that, I can't say that the epiphany happened or whatever, but I had my challenges, but become wildly successful in the automotive industry, and to the point where now I train salespeople. I train salespeople mainly in the automotive industry, but I also train salespeople everywhere else.
So you came full circle and you kept your promise. You're a teacher.
Yeah, that's what's really cool, and that's what's so surreal about what we teach other people, you and me, and everybody that's in our arena, about how you can have things and they come around. And 100%. I mean, it's hard to explain without experiencing it, but I did come full circle, and I stayed true to my word. Even though I crossed my fingers and put them behind my back, I did, and now I teach.
I think it's a natural progression.
What's that?
It's a natural progression. It's something that's within your soul that makes you want to teach. At least that's how I feel. I want to teach, but then you look at a teacher, quote unquote, in high school. You look at a teacher's salary, and you're like, man, I can't live off that. And then you go find other things to do. You go have a successful career in sales, but I think that passion to teach people and to help people, I don't think that's ever gone away from you. I look and now.
No, I find ironically you bring that up, because I was just talking to Kyle Reed a couple of days ago, and he's in our Apex group, and per a conversation I had with Chris Whitehead, I'm struggling with my wife and I, again, we've been married for 30 years, and then we go out on date night. Mm-hmm. And then I find myself with the waiter or waitress pouring into them.
Oh, yeah.
So they come up and they're talking, and you're like, hey, so how you doing? What are you doing? Small talk. And then the next thing you know, they say something and it triggers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm now the the flip has, or the switch has been flipped. That's what I'm going to say. The switch has been flipped. Freudian slip. I tried to reverse that, but anyway. So I'm telling them what they need to do and how they can do it and all these other things, and I'm just pouring into them all this information that I have inside me for free, because I've been doing this for free forever. It's just part of who I am as a human being, and I'm pouring into them. And my wife is sitting over there on date night, twiddling her thumbs, wondering what the fuck is going on here.
But you can't help it. You can't help it.
I can't. And so I'm talking to Kyle Reed about this and Chris Whitehead. And Chris is like, you know what? I had the same thing happen to me. And so he said, what I did was I had Kyle Reed create this like flip thing where you can just hit your phone with them and then they got your stuff. So it happened again after Apex Live this last week, and I used it, and I got it actually tomorrow. I don't know when this is going to air, but actually tomorrow I have a waiter at the country club that we're members of I'm going to do a call with, that he's a graduate student, and we're going to talk. But we started out the conversation, and then in my brain I was like, you're not supposed to do this. And so I said, all right, man, here's my Calendly link. You want to schedule a call? Let's make it happen. And we did. And now here we are. So it took away 2 seconds, maybe 3 minutes, whatever it was, from my wife and I's interaction. But then instead of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It happened. So it's a learning process. Even though I'm 54 years old, I'm still learning. I'm a lifetime learner,
As well you should be, man. I think we all go that route. There was a 90-year-old cellist that was asked why he still practiced. He's like, because I'm still learning. I think there's stuff to be learned. But there's many an enterprising young man has gotten his start as a caddy or a waiter or a bartender at a country club, man. Because guys like you that have made it to the successful side of the world, they want to give back. And I've found, as my success has grown, I've found that more and more and more of me just wants to give back and teach and train people and show them the way to do it. So
isn't that crazy fun though?
Oh yeah. Like when the
Dude,
lights go on.
I love it. I mean, I cannot, you talk about like, what world would I want to live in and where would I want to be? And I've got a coaching client right now that is an attorney and he's a professor, and his name is Carl.
Mm-hmm.
And I have coffee with Carl every Monday at 9 a.m. And that's what it is to me. It's coffee with Carl, but I look forward to it because it's such an engaging conversation, and I'm pouring into his world.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is a very successful attorney and professor, but he's got shit. Everybody, for all the listeners out there, you know what? Everybody's dealing with something.
Oh God, yeah.
And you're fooling yourself if you're trying to say, "Oh, I'm good." Bullshit. Mm-hmm. Everybody's fucking dealing with something. Whether it's your personal relationship with your significant other, whether it's your work, or whatever. I don't know whether it's your background in your world, your life. Everybody's dealing with something, and you need somebody in your life that you can be real and transparent with.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love coffee with Carl because I get my kicks out of it. I mean, I love it. And that's where I want to spend most of my time, is with people that want to grow, want to get better, and understand that, you know what, we're all fucked up.
I think that the authenticity and the transparency are what set guys like us apart. I love it because you don't get that level of openness at industry events. You don't get that level of openness. For example, I sell real estate, or shit, I used to before I got podcasting and consulting taken up all the time. But the foundation of my business was selling real estate. And, being able to take people through a journey from one end of their real estate transaction to another, you're expected to maintain a really very high standard of professionalism. And at any kind of real estate industry events, there's never any connection with anybody that may be failing. There's never any hint of any failure. And what I love from consulting and from the Apex world is the honesty about failure and the way we can look at things that maybe didn't go wrong. Everybody's trying to deal with the same bullshit. Everybody's trying to juggle the same things. We're all looking at income and we're all looking at payroll. We're all looking at taxes. And as entrepreneurs, I don't think we give enough to the vulnerable side of the lifestyle. We don't open up enough about it. And one of the things that I gain immense amount of enjoyments from in coaching, and it was a surprise to me, was just how vulnerable everybody actually is. That we're all out here winning, but the winning's ugly. Every single one of us is out there fighting for it. And I think if we can come together and help each other, that creates more opportunity.
Yeah, let me tell you something about transparency. It took me a lot of years because, again, going back to my childhood, and you were asking me about earlier, and being pride, pride, pride. That's what we did, man.
Dude,
It
that's
was
how
like
I was
pride,
raised.
pride,
Like,
pride.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's how I came up.
yeah.
It was, you don't admit hurt. You
You,
don't admit defeat.
yeah,
You're the man. You can carry this. I mean, that's
yeah.
just how I was raised. Small town again, rural, but England, different continent, but very similar in the fact that it was very masculine oriented. It was very blue collar. You weren't to be seen to cry. Men didn't cry. It's just one of those things. I still don't cry. Maybe I'm broken
Yeah.
now.
I
um,
well, I get welled up, and usually when I get welled up is because I'm passionate. So when I
mhm.
speak, and that was one of the biggest things that I had to overcome when I do public speaking now, is it's not a bad thing that I get welled up, but for the longest time, the little chatterbox in the back of my head was
Mhm.
telling me that that was weakness,
Yeah.
and it wasn't. It was passion. I was not crying. I was not like sobbing on the stage when I was talking, but that was the lie.
Mhm.
And I want the listeners to understand this, that there's a chatterbox in the back of your head that's constantly telling you lies. It's
Yeah.
telling you what you can't do and what you're not and what you're not going to be. But it's full of shit.
Mhm.
And like Wiley MacArthur, that we know,
Yeah.
one of the greatest things that he told me that I use is that little voice, because we all have that little voice in the back of our head. And I want to go back to my story in a minute, but I want to finish this thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is to utilize that, make imagine that voice just sucked a balloon full of helium,
Mhm.
and then it's speaking to you, and it's talking really like this, really loud in voice. Are you going to give that any attention?
No,
No,
sir. Uh-huh.
absolutely not. But what we do is we allow that resounding voice that's very hammerish, and it's going to tell you that this is the way we allow that to happen in our mind, and then it helps us make decisions that aren't the best, because 100% of the time that thing is lying to you, and it's
But
telling you
that's
not.
human nature. And you get to a point in your life where you understand that and you learn to control it. But not everybody gets to that
That,
point
that
at the
that's an
same time.
assumption, man,
Yeah,
because
not
it
everybody
doesn't
gets there.
happen. A
Hmm.
lot of people don't
Yeah,
allow that. A lot of
right.
people just go through life and listen to that voice, and then they just
Oh,
like, yeah,
they never learn it.
I'm-
They never learn
yeah,
it. No. But
no,
like you get to that point as part of a discovery process and as part of the evolution into being a different version of yourself. And yeah, you're right. Some people never get to that point where they understand that there's a voice back there that's deliberately trying to hold them back. Anyway, please continue with your story, man, because we got a
but
little
no, yeah.
sidetracked.
Let me tell you this. Let
Hmm.
me because I want the listeners to understand, because you put me up there as a successful six-figure salesperson, sales training program, and I appreciate it, because that's where we're at.
Yeah.
But let me rewind it for a minute and tell you about how I got there, because I've not always been there. I've not always uh, been at this level.
That's what this show's about, man. Show us the
Yeah.
way, Jerry.
So you talk about the surgeon. Here we go. We're gonna operate right now.
Let's go.
So I got out of college. I was a college All-American, wife, kid, ready to go, and got in the car business, making more money than I would have made as a first year teacher, and got wooed into the insurance business.
Okay.
So life, health, investments, did the
Mhm.
whole nine. I was like, all right, I can do this. So now I have two kids. My wife quit her job of 13 years, mortgage, two car payments, but I'm a fucking Marine, dude. I can handle this shit. I put them on my back and I'm going to make it through it. But if you look at the top 10 stresses in life, I'm taking on 6 of them right now.
All day. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get into this business where you're selling an intangible, you know, hey, if you die, your family gets paid. If you get sick, you get
Hmm.
paid. So I jump into that thing, and me and Absolute Citron became very, very close.
Oh, yeah.
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 So then,
Now, how old were you at this point? You mind me asking? I'm
uh,
counting to about 33, 34.
no, I was probably in my mid to late 20s.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Late 20s. So thanks for aging me,
Well, no,
motherfucker.
you just said your wife had quit her job of 13 years. I just added 20 to 13 and came up with 33.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
wasn't trying to age you, pal.
I married up. I got a
I'm just
I
trying to
got a cougar.
gauge.
I got
Oh
a
no,
cougar, dude.
okay. I'm just trying to gauge where you were in your journey.
I'm not gonna let you off this one. Anyway, no, it's all good.
I wanted to know how old you were when alcohol fucked you up, because I was in my early 30s. There you
Oh,
go.
my
I'll say it out loud.
alcohol fucked me up when I was like 5 years old, but when you read my book, you'll understand. Um, and that's about that, that'll be coming out soon.
Well,
Anyway, um, so I started drinking heavily,
hmm
and then I was always good at cards. So I started gambling because I didn't have appointments, and I got a wife at home, I
hmm
got kids, I got a mortgage, I got car payments. And at that time,
and you're drinking and you got no sales appointments because you're
correct.
selling an intangible asset which isn't
Mhm.
particularly enjoyable to sell.
No,
Because
no.
when you sell a car or when you sell a house, there's immediate hit of joy for your buyers, which then you get to share in.
Yeah.
But you must miss that hit from insurance. Because I get a dopamine hit every time I get a first time home buyer smiling with keys and shit. It's great fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insurance isn't fun at all.
So the analogy that I would use is that selling cars is like blackjack,
Hmm.
insurance is like solitaire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you got this long, oh, your next appointment is, and we're going to bring you a proposal, and we're going to
Hmm.
do this, and we're going to do that. And then it's a long, drawn out
Yes.
process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when the chargebacks come, and that was the other part,
Hmm.
is I would go into my office on Saturday because I was all in, man. I bought a corner office. I had an assistant. I had everything. I was gonna freaking crush this thing. I was just like, I'm all in, man. I'm that's just how I roll,
Yeah.
because I believe in myself, and I think that I'm gonna be the greatest at whatever I do, and I want to master whatever I do. And I think that that's why I went down that gambling road, because I figured I could master it. But anyway, I come in on a Saturday and I go to my computer, and I didn't know that Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Mr. and Mrs. Jones had canceled their policy that I wrote 3 months ago.
Hmm.
And that was a chargeback.
Oof.
So I made all these sales, and then Mr. and Mrs. Jones and Mr. and Mrs. Smith canceled their policy. Now I got no money
Yeah.
because it canceled the other policies that I wrote out during the week. And so then it was like, fuck. So now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
So my addiction, which I know that it was an addiction, was manipulating me at the time, was like, okay, you know how to play cards. You're good at cards, and this is the devil talking, man. It's just like it's a nasty, slippery slope to go down. And I'm telling you, people that are listening right now, it's a freaking nasty, slippery slope and lie. Please listen. Do not succumb to that temptation, because you're not going to win. So I would jump in my car in the morning, tell my wife that I had appointments, and I would drive my ass to Canada, which is an hour and 40-minute drive from my driveway.
Mm-hmm.
I would drive to Canada to play blackjack at 7:30 in the morning, so that I could hope to win money to pay my bills. That's where I was at, because I didn't have any appointments.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. So I was doing that on the regular, and, God will send warning shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one will clip your ear, the other clip your ear, and then eventually one's going to hit you right between the fucking eyes. And I'm going to tell you about the one that hits me between the eyes in a few minutes. But the first warning shot that hit me was, I was in Canada, and I would, Sam, this is crazy, but this is true. I would make sure that I had enough money in my ashtray of my car that I could get back across the Ambassador Bridge from Canada to Detroit, Michigan. Because when I went in the casino, there was no guarantee I was going to bring any money out.
Mm-hmm.
So I would purposely put $2.25 in the ashtray, knowing that I could not touch that money because I didn't have any other money.
Fuck, Jerry.
Yeah. And so I knew that. So here I am sitting at a blackjack table on a random morning, and the waitress came up to me and said, "Hey, Jerry, do you want cream with your coffee?" She fucking knew my name, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been there so much. That was the first warning shot. It clipped my ear.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, all right. So I confided in one of the reps at the insurance agency, and I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, you got a gambling problem." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm a fucking Marine, man. I can handle anything. I got it. It's no big deal." So I got out of the insurance industry because it wasn't working. I got back in the car business where I could play blackjack, quick hit, sell the car, busting bugs, everything's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So doing well. And then I think it was 04, 05. Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker.
Oh yeah. He had the glasses. He had the really crazy hologram eyeglasses. So
he was the only amateur at that point in time to ever win the World Series of Poker.
Yep, I remember it because World Series of Poker had just got optioned, I think, onto Spike TV, and it had just started to become super popular. And that was one of the first times I watched a poker tournament all the way through, because this guy was the amateur. He was one of us. He was the guy that sat there and read the books and studied the plays that the Doyle Brunsons and the Phil Ivies of the world made, and he came from nowhere and won it. So, dude, I remember Chris Moneymaker, and the shirts he wore, they're just most obnoxious, silk, awful shirts.
So this cat comes on the scene, and then I'm like, I'm pretty good at cards. So I jump on.
Dude, it showed it was a normal guy us that watched it, that went to satellite tournaments like we did. Because I got so into poker and drinking whiskey and going. It was the first time that a normal guy had won something and it was completely relatable to the rest of us, there was a path that we could go out and start a career as a poker player. Like it
Right.
was there. The television was telling us that. I remember getting. Now I never did it. I had buddies go out and start going into online poker rooms, and I mean it got huge. I didn't. I never got sucked in, but man, Chris
Well,
Moneymaker winning
I
the
got
World
sucked in.
Series. Sorry, go on. By
No,
all
no, no,
means,
no.
it's your interview. I'm just fucking with it,
No,
man.
no, no. It's all good, man.
I remember how
appreciate
strong
yeah.
that and the marketing behind the World Series of Poker and how strong the calling was to guys, because I was about 24, 25 when it started kicking off, so you would have been a little bit older. How strong that calling was to guys in that demographic that said, hey, you guys can go out and play in local tournaments and you guys can win your way to this, and this is a normal person that's just done that, and that how strong that calling was. So
Yeah. And
some good marketing.
And I was that guy.
Yeah. I mean,
So
we were the target audience.
Yeah, I started playing, and it. In retrospect, I can rationalize, but in retrospect, it kind of helped me through 08, 09, the recession that we had, because I was selling cars, but I was playing poker because I wasn't selling cars. So at my desk in my office, I was playing poker because there was nobody coming in wanting to buy any cars. But I knew in my mind, because that's how we're wired. And I'm not rationalizing my addiction, but I understand it, is that we're wired to win and we're wired to eat. You know, I needed to feed my family. So I was figuring out whatever means necessary I needed to do to feed my family. And I had a wife, 2 kids, mortgage, the whole nine. I'm figuring out whatever the fuck I need to do to feed my family. So I'm playing poker. So, dude, there was an 8 o'clock $3 rebuy and a 10 o'clock $10 rebuy. Finished basement, computer, big screen TV in my house. And I had a mini fridge. I was drinking, pissing in a milk jug.
This is 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. when these are starting?
PM.
Okay.
And I would play till 4 and 5 in the morning. And if I didn't make the final 4 or 5, I broke even. And then I'd go to work and do it all over again, and do it all over again, and do it all over again. And that's where that started. You know, I always played cards. I played cards for my entire life since I was a little kid. My mom and I sat at my at the kitchen table when I was a little kid. I would wake up early before school and I would play gin rummy with my mom. But that wasn't for money, you know. It's for the interaction with my mom. But that's where it started, and then it escalated and escalated and escalated to eventually at the point where I had lost more than I made. And I eventually had to come to Jesus. And that's what I'm talking about right here, is I would get up at 2 a.m, wake up. Now I'm in a position where I'm making double what I was making. We've come through the recession. I'm making great money, but I'm still chasing that, whatever that is.
That hit.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with it. And this is, again, not a rationalization, but it's when I was wrestling at a high level, and I wrestled in 3, I don't know, one Olympic championship. I wrestled in 3 international I wrestled at all these different levels. And then when I got done, I was just like, now what? What's the next thing? Selling cars? Yeah, it's cool. but it
But
wasn't that euphoria that I
the
was looking
that
for.
that adrenaline,
Yeah.
and yeah, I didn't wrestle collegiately. I had a almost 10-year period of highly competitive MMA that came about after almost getting in a fight in an office. And I never, after I stopped doing it, I never found anything to replace that adrenaline rush and the euphoria of the competition and competing in a I mean, it's a controlled environment, but it's a fight environment. And I would imagine you got the very same thing from wrestling.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So once I was done and I hung my shoes up, I was like, okay, so now what's next? Sell some cars. Hey,
Yeah, but you
oh,
don't get that hit.
yeah, feels great. Yeah, whatever. So I was listening to a podcast by Stuman the other day, and it really hit me. It wasn't about the win. It was about chasing the win.
Mm-hmm.
And that really was telling for me, because that's what I was doing. I was chasing the win.
Dude, it's funny. I'm reading this right now. If you see that, Winning, Tim Grover. I'm reading it like right now, and it talks about
Tim Grover,
yeah.
yeah, badass. Yeah, I've yeah. Are you a cleaner? Are you a closer?
I don't know yet. I'm on about page. Let's see here. Where are we at? Page 54. So I'm not sure I'm a cleaner or a closer yet. People make fun of me because I have $1 for a bookmark, and for me,
But if you're talking about books, though, I really like the live shit you're doing with
that's
the
so
richest man
rewarding.
in Babylon.
That's so rewarding because it's reteaching me the book and reteaching me the
No,
principles.
but you know what you're doing, though. What was really engaging for me, and I just give you kudos for it, because I sat and watched your ass read for 12 minutes.
It's just
like,
fun, man.
And I'm like,
fun.
listen to this guy. I feel like I'm a freaking little kid sitting with my legs crossed, and I'm watching this guy read this book, but I can't stop.
Dude, I love it. I get so much joy from it, Jerry. So much joy. If only one person, and if it's only you, is sitting there like a little kid with his legs crossed, that's my value. That's what I love about doing this and about putting these shows on. And yeah, I've got thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads now, and I'm so grateful for all of that. But when you rewind it back, it's that one person that just gets one thing out of it. You know how much of a pain in the arse it is to sit on my back porch at 9 o'clock every night and remember to read? Like how many plans that gets in the way of, and
then when you fuck up the words, it's
so difficult. They're all long and old fashioned.
Dude, it's perfect because it's live and it's real and it's authentic. That's what's cool about it. But those words are not easy to read.
But people think
I
it's an
admire
end result.
you for doing that.
Like they think I'm doing that to somehow magically get business, and I'm not. Business will come regardless. I'm doing it because I enjoy reading. I don't read enough. It's the first, whenever shit hits the fan, the first two things to go are exercise and reading. Like that's it. Like I get so engrossed in work, or I'll make an excuse. Reading is like literally the first thing. I'm like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll just catch up. I'll listen to a podcast. Well, listening to an audiobook and listening to a podcast, you don't have the same visceral feedback you get from touching the paper and holding the book and reading the words and putting them into your brain. Because when I'm listening to a podcast, dude, I can be just miles away listening. And I catch some things in and out, but I don't take the content to heart. And by forcing myself to read out loud, I'm getting things from it. I'm getting the education from it. I'm getting that joy of the 54-year-old car salesman feeling like a cross-legged kid listening. I'm getting that. So I'm doing it for me. It's incredibly self-serving. But my joy comes from giving, which, as a guy raised in a blue-collar environment, not allowed to cry, that masculinity is the biggest thing in the world, the fact that I get joy from just giving constantly just blows my mind. My entire life changed about 2 years ago when I joined this thing called Apex and just started helping people instead of trying to make money. And I make more money now than I've ever made, all based on helping people and nothing else. Which is just the weirdest thing. Obviously, there is quite a bit of focus on making money. I'm not saying it accidentally falls out the sky, but through giving, I found great joy, and through teaching and that reading is just. I mean, I know we got sidetracked on it, but
No, I'm proud of you, man. I'm so
thank
proud
you,
of you.
dude. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome what you're doing.
I'm gonna go after we record this and go sit on my back porch and read again. You know, it's just one of those things. So
let me get to the climax of this story.
Tell us about the shot between the eyes.
It's the journey. It's the shot between the eyes. So it's about 2:30 in the morning on a Saturday, and I'm driving to the casino, and my wife's sleeping, my kids are sleeping
in the morning. So okay,
So I'm fully invested in this addiction, and it's just like, here's what I'm doing.
It's gonna be 4 a.m. by the time you get there, dude.
Well, now we're fast forwarding because the casino now is in Toledo, which is only 40 minutes away.
Oh, okay, my bad.
And so this has been going on for a number of years, and I've been making double what I was making, but pissing away all of it at the casino.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's 2:30 in the morning. I'm one exit away from the casino, and I get a phone call from my oldest daughter, and it came up on my Bluetooth. It says, Tessa's calling you. And I didn't want to answer the phone. I mean, it's 2:30 in the morning on a Sunday. I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
I'm one exit away from satisfying my addiction. And I answered the phone, and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm turning around." And I didn't go back. And that was that kick in the gut that I needed to realize that I was really fucking my world up. Not only from a family standpoint, but financially, because I was making a ton of money, but I was chasing that, whatever that was, because I felt like, you ever watch those 30 for 30s?
Mm-hmm.
ESPN, and you got these athletes that make all this money, and then they piss it away, and then they end up living on the streets, or they living at home, back with their parents, and they've made all these millions of dollars. Well, guess what? That's real.
Mm-hmm.
That shit happens. And it's not because they make bad financial decisions. Yeah, maybe part of it, but the reality is they're chasing something. And if you don't have a purpose,
mm-hmm.
and a belief in what you're supposed to do, then you're going to continue to go down that road, and you're going to continue to piss that money away, or those blessings away that you get. And it's going to go by the wayside, and you're going to reflect back on your dash, which is the time you were born, time you die.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be like, yeah, what did I do?
Dude, that's so powerful, Jerry. And it's something that I've lived. And it's so fucking powerful for you to come out here and share it. Like, when there's addiction there, people don't realize that you have to have that next hit. You have to have it. For me, chasing shit was way more fun than catching it. Like chasing those wins. And I didn't gamble so much in the casinos, but I was incredibly reckless in business. gambled a lot of money, won a lot, lost a lot, and it's chasing that win. And I don't know if it's something about the character that you and I both have, whether it's the upbringing, whether it's something in the masculinity and the maleness of it all. But guys like us, just, we want the win, and we want that win at all costs. And I want to know, or I want to tell people that if you're listening to this and you're in your 20s or you're in your 30s and you're going through this ringer with business and chasing these wins, man, listen to guys like Jerry. You know, he's Jerry, dude, I think there's so much importance in your story and the ability for you to share it and say, look, this is where I fucked up. So what happened after you turned around? What happened in your life after you made that decision, after you answered that phone call? How did things start changing for you?
Well, things got real. I mean, really, my my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids. For me personally, I started to pay closer attention to what was vitally important. And my wife is watching me right now. So it's like really,
It's okay.
she's like, I'm trying to be 100%. And it's
It's all right. She's going to listen to this one.
I know she's going to listen to it, but she's like staring at me and it's like, I'm trying to be politically correct, but
Don't. Like, you already know we don't edit shit.
I know what, but what's kind of, I don't know, fucking weird. Now she's downstairs screaming. We've been married 30 years, man. I was like, wow. But I think she just wanted to be engaged in the conversation, but it was distracting to me. So what changed? Yeah.
I bet she's a lot more proud to call you her husband now than she was when you were driving to the casino every weekend.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you because that is 100% true. But I can't speak for her, man. That I guess that's what's tough is how does everybody else perceive you after you change? You know, I don't know, because when I'm in the when I'm in the midst of this thing, I don't see what everybody else is doing. I'm focused on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so when I'm now it's not about me, it's about everybody else.
I
And so for
completely
me to
agree.
understand and answer that question is very difficult because it was all me centered. And now it's not me centered. It's more about my wife and my kids and my legacy and whatever else we're doing. So it wasn't about me.
Well, man, I'm super proud that you managed to defeat that gambling addiction. And what happened with the alcohol? Was there a switch there as well when you stopped gambling, or did that bottle of
So
Citron?
I think those two go in tandem, and
Yeah.
my wife and I've had this conversation because I don't think about gambling unless there's alcohol involved. I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, if I'm not drinking, then I'm not thinking about gambling. But if I start drinking a little bit, then I think about gambling. And so the 75 hard was really cool for us
Yeah.
because both of us understood that there was no alcohol involved in 75 hard, and so that really gave more clarity. And if you guys haven't that are listening have not done 75 hard, I would definitely look into it. Google the shit. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But once we curbed that alcohol aspect of it, the clarity, the vision, the work ethic, all these other things that we already had that we were like allowing the alcohol to suppress came out. And it was really cool. So for me, the alcohol and the gambling kind of go tandem.
Dude, you got such a remarkable story, man. I wish we could dig into it more, Jerry. Dude, we're right up on time. And I've got all these great questions to ask, but I didn't even read any of them. We just had a wonderful hours worth of conversation, man. And I would love to get you on the show again. I feel as though we've got 2 or 3 more episodes that we could pull out between us, in all honesty, man.
Yeah, I apologize, man, because I'm sure you have a lot of things that are going on with your questions, but about I want to talk about what I'm doing now, and we just ran out of time, but it's all good. I mean, I'm not going anywhere.
You know what? Let's go, man. Let's let it go. Let's make your wife wait another 10 minutes. I want to spend just a little bit of time on the 6-figure salesperson course. I want to spend let's make her wait another 10 minutes. Let's give the audience 10 minutes more. Tell us about this course and the sales training that you do, man, because you're making, like I said earlier, you're making quite an impression in the group with your stuff.
Yeah. So basically what the 6-figure salesperson is it's a course where I can take somebody from 0 to 100, 200, 300, 400, whatever you want to make it. And it's a simple, seamless, and easy process. And that's what I do. But I've been teaching, like I said earlier in the podcast, I've been teaching for years.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about me, I think that separates me from everybody else is that I get my kicks out of watching people succeed. I really do. Yeah. And that's what I say in my own podcast, the Jerry Gerken Show. I get my kicks out of watching people succeed, and I have success stories on all my podcasts. So what I do is I train people to do things that they don't think they can do. And we talk about, the crabs in the bucket, as Stuman says, but I talk about fleas in a jar. Fleas in a jar. A flea can jump 3 feet in the air.
Yeah.
A little flea can jump 3 feet in the air. But if you take 12 fleas and you put them in a mason jar and you put the lid on top, they'll jump and hit the top, jump and hit the top, jump and hit the top. And then eventually you can take the lid off the top and they won't jump out. Even though they're capable to jump 3 feet in the air, they won't jump out. The reason why they won't jump out is because they're conditioned to the environment that they're in.
Yeah.
They believe, like you and I, growing up a small farming community, we're only allowed to make this much money. We're only allowed to do this because we're conditioned to our environment. Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And so what I teach people is how to create their own systems and their own processes that they can make 6+ figures, 7+ figures.
And is it specific to the automotive industry, or do you work with all kinds of people? You said you had an attorney client earlier.
Yeah, I work with everybody that's in the sales arena, but I'm really dialed in more to the automotive industry.
No,
but
I
mean, I do have other clients. It's just that I'm trying to focus more in that direction because it's like this shiny object thing. It's like the monkey thing, it's like over here. I can work with anybody, but I'm more dialed into that. The people that are in the automotive industry.
I completely understand. And do you chase after individuals, or have you started like making inroads into actual booking with dealership groups and helping them to manage their training?
So I have a website with a landing page for automotive stuff, and then I also have a separate Facebook page or private group for individuals.
And we'll post those links in the show notes.
Yeah, it's a 6-figure salesperson. Yeah.
But I know there's a couple of guys listen that actually own or manage car dealerships, one or the other. So that might be a good connection for you to do. All right.
One thing that I will tell you real quick, Sam, before you cut off is if one of those auto dealerships want to, just take their best salesperson, their best guy, and let them look at my program and implement it, and then we'll talk from there. I'll do that for free.
Dude, I will make those connections, man, because that's all life is, dude. It's connecting people, and it will help the dealers to solve their sales training problem, and it will help you to solve whatever cash flow coming in the company problem. Perfect. You see, make more money for everyone.
The two things that dealers deal with as far as expenses go is compensation and advertising. What I teach is how you can eliminate the advertising. They're going to drive their own traffic. You don't have to spend the money. They're going to bring the people in the door, and the grosses are going to be higher.
That's what you need. So you nurture that know, like, and trust factor.
Yeah. Let's do relationship selling instead of transactions.
Oh my God. I wish everybody would listen to that. Relationship selling is the most powerful thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's phenomenal. So I love it. All right, Jerry Gerken, we are up on time, my man. It's been an absolute blast.
I know.
And I know people say this in passing and don't really mean it, but I would love to put another episode together with you later down the line, man, because this has been a lot of fun.
Let's do it.
All right, before we get out of here, Jerry, we will put this stuff in the show notes, but real quick for the guys listening, where can they follow you on social media?
Jerry Gerken Sales and Training, and then jerrygerken.com.
Okay, we will put those in the show notes. As always, we'll try and get a link over to the Instagram stuff, and you can follow us on Instagram as well, at Small Business Surgeon, if you're not already doing so. I would like to ask, if you got something out of today's show with Jerry, run over to his socials, show him a little love, and maybe check out some of his stuff over at the sixfiguresalesperson.com. Jerry, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure.
Always.
All right, guys, that's it from us for today. I will see you all same time Friday for another episode of Friday Fire. I really appreciate your listening. And as always, guys, if you've gotten anything out of the show, run on over, leave us a review, hit the subscribe button, and share it with a friend, because it helps to get the word out. All right, you'll be good. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week.